Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the build quality of a Rolls Royce.
Okay.
But we're not looking at just like your typical showroom model,
Right.
We've got something really special.
Yeah.
The source that we're going to be looking at is a YouTube video from Supercar Blondie.
Oh, cool.
And it features a custom-built 6x6 Rolls Royce Phantom.
Wow. 6x6, huh?
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
So we're going to be looking at, not just like the luxury features or anything like that, but what this unique build reveals about the core, quality and craftsmanship of a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they actually pulled that off.
Yeah, and get ready, because there are some pretty amazing details.
I bet.
We're talking gold-plated brakes, crocodile leather interiors. And
sounds fancy.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so first things first, we got to understand the scale of this 6x6 modification.
Okay.
We're looking at a 2005 Phantom, and they basically took the back end of a BMW 7 Series, also from 2005, and grafted it onto the Phantom to extend the frame.
So they combined a Rolls-Royce with a BMW.
Essentially.
Like a Frankenstein's monster of luxury cars.
Pretty much, yeah. It's quite the ambitious project.
And how do they even make that work?
Well, they had to custom fabricate axles.
Okay.
24-inch wheels.
Wow.
And they even added off-road features like a massive push bar and a roof rack.
A roof rack on a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, this thing is meant for adventure, I guess.
I mean, it sounds pretty incredible.
Yeah, it definitely required a lot of, metalwork and structural engineering to make sure it was all, safe and functional.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm wondering. Like,
yeah.
Rolls Royce is known for its quality.
For sure.
But can their engineering really withstand that kind of extreme modification?
Right. It's a good question. And I think that's one of the things that makes this build so fascinating. It gives us this glimpse into the structural integrity of a Rolls Royce.
Okay.
I mean, the original Phantom's chassis and body, they must have been incredibly robust to be able to handle this kind of transformation.
Okay.
It really speaks to that over-engineering that goes into these cars.
Yeah, well, hold on. Before we get too deep into the engineering, we've got to talk about the luxury features.
Of course.
This car is dripping in extravagance.
Oh, yeah. Let's start with the exterior.
Okay.
Picture this matte black paint job.
Okay.
Yellow tinted headlights.
Really?
With a matching light bar.
Wow.
And then just to top it off, gold-plated accents like all over the place.
It's definitely not a car that's going to blend in.
Not at all.
So what about the inside?
Oh, the interior is something else entirely.
Okay.
It's been completely reupholstered.
With what?
With crocodile and snakeskin leather.
Crocodile and snakeskin?
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's a bit much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, it's definitely a statement.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine the level of craftsmanship that goes into something like that.
I know, right? It must have taken forever.
It's so over the top.
Yeah, it's definitely a departure from that traditional image of a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, like that kind of understated elegance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I guess, this is a custom build.
Yeah,
it's meant to stand out and kind of push those boundaries of what luxury can be.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
For sure.
One thing that surprised me, though, is that they didn't modify the engine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It still has the original 6.7-liter V12 from the 2005 Phantom.
Huh. I would have thought they'd go for something with a bit more oomph.
Yeah, you'd think with all the other modifications, they'd want to upgrade the power, too.
Right.
So why do you think they stuck with the original engine?
Well, Rolls-Royce isn't just about raw power.
What do you mean?
Their cars are known for their smoothness refinement.
Okay.
And that effortless acceleration.
Right.
And the original V12, it already embodies those qualities perfectly.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's about the experience of driving a Rolls-Royce, not just about going fast.
Okay, so maybe they felt that a different engine wouldn't align with that experience.
Right, exactly.
Okay, well, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about some of the details that stood out to me in the video.
Sure. What caught your eye?
There was a shot of the side steps.
Okay.
And I noticed these massive, oversized screws holding them in place. They looked incredibly heavy-duty.
Interesting.
Is that typical for a Rolls-Royce?
It might seem like a small detail, but it actually says a lot about their build quality.
Okay.
I mean, those screws, they weren't added just for this modification.
Oh.
They're likely part of the original design.
So even something as simple as a screw is a deliberate choice about quality and durability.
Absolutely. Rolls-Royce doesn't cut corners even on the smallest components.
Mm.
They use the highest quality materials and over-engineer everything to withstand way more stress than a typical car would ever encounter.
So that brings us back to this whole 6x6 modification.
Yeah.
The fact that this car can even function properly
Right.
after such a radical transformation.
It's pretty amazing.
It suggests that the original build must have been exceptionally strong.
Yeah, it's like they built in a buffer for the unexpected.
Really?
You know, knowing that a Rolls-Royce might be subjected to, various modifications or customizations over its lifetime.
So they're thinking ahead.
Yeah, and this 6x6 build, as extreme as it is, it shows that built-in strength. The
Yes.
trunk mechanism was pushed beyond its limits, but it held up.
Wow.
It's a testament to that over-engineering that sets Rolls-Royce apart.
It's like they anticipated that someone might try to turn a Phantom into a six-wheeled off-roader one day?
Maybe not specifically that, but their philosophy of building cars to last.
Yeah.
It clearly paid off in this case.
I mean, Rolls-Royces are known for their longevity. They're meant to be passed down through generations.
Right.
And that kind of durability requires exceptional engineering and attention to detail.
For sure.
So if we step back and look at the bigger picture, what can this 6x6 modification teach us about the build quality of a Rolls-Royce?
Well, I think it reaffirms that Rolls-Royce builds cars with this incredible level of structural integrity,
Okay.
using top-tier materials and engineering practices that prioritize strength and durability.
Right.
They really over-engineer their vehicles to withstand far more than typical driving conditions would ever demand.
And that underlying strength allows for these remarkable customizations and modifications.
Exactly. Even something as dramatic as transforming a Phantom into a six-wheeled behemoth.
Yeah, okay, I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Does all this over-engineering and attention to detail
Mm-hmm.
mean that any car could theoretically handle this kind of extreme modification?
That's a good question. And the
Really?
answer is probably not.
Okay.
Rolls-Royce really stands apart because of its commitment to building cars that are meant to last.
Right.
Not every car manufacturer prioritizes durability and longevity to the same extent.
So what makes a Rolls-Royce different?
It's a combination of factors.
Okay.
First, their choice of materials is exceptional.
Like what?
They use these high-grade steel alloys
Okay.
that are carefully selected for their strength-to-weight ratio and resistance to corrosion.
So they're using like the same materials you'd find in a high-performance aircraft or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
And they also pay incredible attention to detail in their construction process.
Where do you?
Every weld, every joint, every component.
Okay.
It's all meticulously crafted and inspected to ensure it meets their standards.
So it's not just the materials themselves, but how those materials are assembled and integrated into the whole structure of the car.
Exactly. It's like the difference between a mass-produced piece of furniture and a handcrafted heirloom.
I see.
That level of craftsmanship and attention to detail is what allows a Rolls-Royce to handle these extreme modifications without falling apart.
Which brings us back to those oversized screws.
Right.
They're like a tiny representation of Rolls-Royce's approach to build quality.
Exactly.
Even the smallest components are chosen and engineered for durability.
That's the philosophy that permeates every aspect of their design and manufacturing process.
It's kind of ironic that we started this deep dive talking about gold-plated brakes and exotic leather interiors,
Yeah.
but we've ended up focusing on the strength of steel
Yeah.
and the quality of screws.
Well, it's a good reminder that true luxury isn't just about surface-level aesthetics.
Right.
It's about the underlying substance,
Yeah.
the meticulous craftsmanship and that commitment to building something that endures.
And that enduring quality is what allows a car like this, modified 6x6 Rolls-Royce Phantom, to even exist.
Exactly.
It's proof that even with these extreme modifications, a Rolls-Royce is still a Rolls-Royce.
Absolutely. So let's pick up where we left off and really dig into how they engineered this 6x6 Rolls-Royce Phantom.
Yeah.
Like you said, extending that frame and adding those extra axles requires some serious structural changes.
Yeah, it sounds super complex.
Oh, it is.
What kind of materials are we even talking about here?
Well, Rolls-Royce uses these high-strength steel alloys,
Okay.
for the chassis construction, and they're designed for both rigidity and lightweighting.
Okay.
So the modification probably involved, carefully joining these alloys using some pretty advanced welding techniques.
So it's not just like welding on extra steel beams or something?
No. It's way more sophisticated than that.
Okay.
You got to understand the properties of these different alloys,
Yeah.
how they behave under stress. It's a science.
And they had to like integrate a whole new rear axle and suspension system too.
Exactly. And that means custom fabricated components, heavy-duty differentials,
Wow.
possibly even reinforced shock absorbers just to handle that altered weight distribution.
I'm picturing a team of expert welders and engineers just like meticulously crafting these components.
Oh, absolutely. This was not some backyard hack job.
No.
This was a carefully orchestrated engineering feat.
Yeah.
They had to consider things like load distribution, suspension geometry, even the car's center of gravity to make sure it handled properly.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, there's one detail from the video that really highlights the strengths of the original build.
What's that?
Remember how the trunk struggled to open?
Oh, yeah.
Because of all the added weight?
Right, because that trunk mechanism was designed for the original Phantom's trunk lid.
Yeah.
But with this modification, it was suddenly lifting like way more mass.
And it still worked.
Yeah, it needed a little help, but it didn't break.
Right.
Which is amazing.
It speaks volumes about how robust the original design was.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
The original Phantom was engineered with a certain safety margin.
Right.
You know, they knew that trunk mechanism could handle a specific load,
Yeah.
but they probably designed it to withstand even more.
So like a buffer for unexpected situations.
Exactly. And this 6x6 build, as crazy as it is, it showcases that strength.
Yeah.
The trunk mechanism was pushed beyond its intended limits, and it survived.
That's wild.
It's a testament to that over-engineering that we keep talking about.
Okay, so they built this car to last.
Rolls-Royces are known for their longevity.
Right.
They're supposed to be passed down through generations.
Right. And that kind of durability, you can't just like slap that on.
No, it requires exceptional engineering and like a crazy attention to detail.
So to bring it back to our main point here.
Yeah.
What can this 6x6 modification teach us about the build quality of a Rolls-Royce?
I think it just confirms that Rolls-Royce builds cars with this insane level of structural integrity.
Yeah.
They're using the best materials,
Okay.
engineering practices that put strength and durability first.
Yeah.
They over-engineer these cars to withstand way more than you would ever need in normal driving.
Right. And all that allows for these crazy customizations and modifications.
Exactly. Even something as dramatic as turning a Phantom into a 6-wheeled monster truck, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to ask,
Yeah.
does that mean that any car could theoretically handle this kind of extreme modification?
That's a great question. And honestly, the answer is probably no.
Okay.
Rolls-Royce really stands out
Because
of their dedication to building cars that last.
right. Not every car company does that.
Exactly.
So what makes a Rolls-Royce different then?
Well, it comes down to a few things.
Okay.
First, their choice of materials is top-notch.
Okay.
They use these high-grade steel alloys that are chosen very carefully for their strength-to-weight ratio and their resistance to corrosion.
So they're using like really high-end materials.
Yeah, and those alloys are usually more expensive.
Right.
And they require specialized manufacturing processes, but Rolls-Royce doesn't compromise.
It's like they're using the same materials you'd find in a spaceship or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
And then on top of that, they're super detail-oriented in their construction.
What do you mean?
Like every weld, every joint, every single component. It's all carefully crafted and inspected
To make sure.
to make sure it meets their ridiculously high standards.
Okay, so it's not just the materials themselves,
No.
but it's how they're put together too.
It's the difference between mass-produced and handcrafted.
Right, like a piece of IKEA furniture versus like a really nice antique.
Exactly. And that level of craftsmanship, that attention to detail,
Yeah.
that's what makes a Rolls-Royce able to handle these modifications without just falling apart.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It all comes back to those oversized screws.
Here you go.
They represent that commitment to quality.
They're like a little symbol.
Yeah, even the tiniest components are built to last.
It's a philosophy that you see everywhere in their design and manufacturing.
You know, it's funny, we started talking about gold-plated brakes and exotic leather,
Right.
but we ended up talking about steel and screws.
Well, it just goes to show that real luxury,
Yeah.
it's not just about what's on the surface. It's
Yeah.
about what's underneath.
Yeah, the substance.
The craftsmanship, the commitment to building something that lasts.
And that's what makes this six-wheeled Rolls-Royce possible.
Right.
It shows that even with crazy modifications, a Rolls-Royce is still a Rolls-Royce.
Exactly.
So we've spent this whole deep dive looking at the build quality of a Rolls-Royce
Right.
through this crazy 6x6 Phantom.
Yeah.
And we've talked about like the strength of the materials,
Mhm.
the engineering, the over-engineering.
I like good stuff.
Yeah. But I'm kind of wondering about like the philosophical side of things.
Oh, okay. What do you mean by that?
What does modifying a Rolls-Royce like this
Yeah.
Does it make it better or worse?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, like does it add value or does it actually like take away from what the brand is supposed to be? It's
Right.
kind of subjective, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting question, and I think it probably depends on who you ask.
Right.
Like some Rolls-Royce fans might say that turning this elegant car into an off-roader
Yeah.
is almost like a crime.
It's like taking a beautiful painting and like drawing all over it.
Exactly. It might get attention, but does it actually make the original better?
Right. Some people would say, no way.
Right, but then on the other hand, you
Mhm.
could argue that this modification celebrates what a Rolls-Royce can do.
Yeah, like showing off its strength.
Yeah, pushing the boundaries.
And how adaptable it is.
Exactly. It's like saying, hey, this car is so well built it can handle anything.
Yeah, even turning it into a six-wheeled monster.
Yeah, and it also shows that you can customize it and make it your own.
Right? Like Rolls-Royce has always been about that.
Yeah, bespoke craftsmanship, personal style.
So this is like the ultimate version of that.
It's not just about fitting in with what luxury is supposed to be.
It's about making a statement.
Exactly. And I think that's cool, especially when so many luxury cars are starting to look the same.
So there's no right answer then.
I don't think so.
It depends on how you see it.
Yeah, heritage versus evolution,
Right? This whole deep dive has really changed how we think about Rolls-Royce. Yeah, me too.
I always knew they were nice cars, but I never really thought about the engineering behind them.
It's easy to just see the luxury on the surface.
Right, but underneath it's all about that incredible engineering.
That's what makes them special.
Well, folks, that's the end of our deep dive into Rolls-Royce build quality.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we started with a six-wheeled Phantom and ended up talking about everything from steel alloys to over-engineering.
It's been a fun ride.
We hope you learned something new and maybe even started to appreciate these cars in a whole new way.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And until next time, keep those gears turning.